Introduction to the Book of Acts. Why read this book? The church today, sometimes persecuted, ridiculed, or even ignored. Others need encouragement. The book of Acts reminds us that despite modern challenges, the church can be alive and well. Acts show how revival and church growth comes, not by human effort, but through the power of the Holy Spirit. Who wrote this book? Luke, the author of Luke's Gospels. The book of Luke and Acts compose almost 1/4 of the entire New Testament. Why was it written? Luke wrote as a historian to tell what happened after the resurrection. Acts is the second volume of the Good News, the sequel to the Gospels. In it, Luke explained Christianity's amazing growth, perhaps to legitimize the church to civil authorities, perhaps to confirm the faith and to confirm the faith of believers. Luke also seems to have wanted congregations to understand the source of conflict between Jewish and Gentile Christians who were brought together through Christ as members of God's family. And that didn't really happen until the gospel, the good news of grace was given to Paul. Because in the early church, it was still just dealing with Jews, just like in Christ's earthly ministry was for Jew only, with two exceptions. Why was it written? When was it written? Around AD 63 to 70. So that's after Christ's death. AD 63 to 70. To whom was it written? Luke wrote to Theophilus, a name which meant lover of God. This may have been a specific person or perhaps a label for struggling Christians in general. And you can also see that in the introduction to Luke. What to look for in Acts. You read what happened then, consider its impact now. The difficulties faced by the early church can encourage the present day church. The zeal that took the Gospels across ethnic and national boundaries can inspire us today. The Spirit, so active in Acts, is the same Holy Spirit that is currently at work in the church. That's the indwelling Holy Spirit now, okay? They in the early church had not fully received that indwelling Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit was still on and with them, okay? But after the gospel is revealed to Paul, this church is in transition. Then they're going to be required to receive Paul's gospel of grace and believe in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ for the forgiveness of their sins. We will see that. They believed in the death, burial, and resurrection, but not for the forgiveness of their sins in the early part of the church. We're going to see that transition because they were still under the Jewish sacrificial system in the early church before Paul's Gospel of Grace. This is a very difficult book, and I'm going to take this book line by line and verse by verse. And all of the teachings will be on YouTube. So I pray that you have believed Paul's Gospel of Grace given to him by Jesus Christ himself after his resurrection. And you have to trust in the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and his shed blood in order to be saved today. Okay? So that you won't be cursed by the curse of Galatians 1:8, in which hell will enlarge itself for you. So I hope you come with me on this marvelous journey of the book of Acts so that we can do it together. All right then.